I am selling my Japanese N64 modded with HDMI, an RGB SCART, and all of that lovely stuff, the one that I covered in the video that I did a couple of months back. And the reason for that is because I don't really get any use out of it. I had a fun few weeks kind of playing with it and getting to know the games, and I covered a few of those in that video. But I just have no nostalgia for the N64, and I thought I would sell it to raise some money for the channel. I'm selling all of the games with it as well, all 29 of the Japanese boxed games that I have for it. There's 2 copies of GoldenEye, so and there's 2 copies of Mario 64 as well, but one of those is the Rumble Pack enabled version, so they are different versions. But yeah, basically all of the kind of classics and well-known games on that platform. Selling the whole lot as a bundle, as a job lot, because I just can't be bothered with dealing with it. But everything's tested and working and in nice clean condition. And I've taken loads of photos to hopefully represent that accurately. And I don't make this video because I want to advertise that fact. In fact, I'm going to show you why you don't need this in your life, which, yeah, I'm quite the salesman, aren't I? But yeah, I just wanted to mention that, and that's why I'm getting rid of it. And yeah, so there we go. So I'll put that down on the floor. No, what I want to show you in this video, and we will switch to OBS now. This is my original Xbox, which I also covered in a video a few months back. I wanted to try and cover some more kind of modern stuff, just because, I mean, I love all the old Atari stuff, and that's kind of my main interest with the channel. But yeah, just wanted to, you know, I've been a gamer of sorts for a long time now, and I've played on these modern platforms as well, and I wanted a chance to kind of discover some that I haven't had a chance to play with, like the N64, and so yeah, hence the original Xbox video. This, of course, is also HDMI modded and has an SSD in it and a mod chip and all of that lovely stuff, and it means that it can run emulators. So this is a dashboard called XBMC4Gamers, which I've got installed on there, as I'm sure you can see. And we'll just log into that. Now, when it comes to emulators, there are far better. Oh, as you can see, this goes straight into my game list. In fact, let's talk about the game list for a second first. So these are a lot of my sort of favourite games from back in the day when I was actually playing with my Xbox in the early 2000s. So we've got all the Burnout games. Black, that is a very underrated game, I think. I think that also came out on the PS2, made by Criterion, who also made Burnout. You'll see, scrolling through here, a lot of these games say that they've actually never been played, and that's because I recently made some changes to this and kind of deleted a load of stuff. But yeah, so we've got Doom 3, amazing port. MVG actually recently did a video about the Doom 3 port to the OG Xbox and why it was quite a technical marvel. I can highly recommend that video, very good. Flat Out games, obviously similar to the Burnout games, and I've got Forza and Hello Kitty Roller Rescue, of course, because that's essential. Xbox game, Jet Set Radio Future. So yeah, just some of my favourites from back in the day, and because this is what I use this Xbox for, this is what it boots into by default, and then I can get in there within a matter of seconds and start playing some of my old favourites. This one, Wallace and Gromit Project Zoo, I've been playing this quite a bit lately. It's like a 3D platformer, and it's absolutely punishing. I think I'd quite like to actually stream some of this. I want to get back into game streaming at some point. But yeah, it's quite a punishingly difficult 3D platformer, so it might be fun to watch me struggle on that one. And of course, the Xbox Live Arcade, the original release of Xbox Live Arcade, which I installed for my video that I made on the subject very recently. But today we're here to look at emulators. Now, on XBMC4Gamers, you can press the black button, and it goes through to this menu, and you can go into Settings, and there's a downloader built in. And what this has essentially is a selection of useful utilities. You've got artwork. So as you can see, when I was scrolling through my game list, I had all the box art and stuff on there, which was downloaded from here. And you can also have video previews of the games and that kind of stuff, which I don't have installed because it's just a lot of space and I think it's a bit pointless. But hey, it's there if you want it. You can even install different rival competing dashboards through this dashboard, which is quite cool. Obviously, you've got the classic mod chip dashboards in there, like Evolution X and Unleash X. You know, and you can install you know, EmuStation as well if you want to predominantly use your Xbox 4 emulators. DLC, so they've got the DLC for all of the games. obviously the original Xbox Live went offline a very long time ago, and yeah, so you've got all the title updates and stuff which were kind of previously unavailable, which is really, really cool. Obviously, there's Insignia, which is the modern implementation of the original Xbox Live, but that's only designed for online gaming, and I don't think they have any plans to, any plans to implement DLC and title updates and stuff, because ultimately this is copyrighted content which belongs to the original game developers, and I don't think they'd want to sort of risk the future of their platform by offering that. So it's all here on XBMC4Gamers, and we'll skip past the emulators for now because we'll go back to that. But we've got the homebrew section here, so homebrew ports of various different games and some original ones. Obviously, we've got native versions of Quake, Quake 2, Quake 3, Rise of the Triad, Shadow Warrior, and Wolfenstein 3D. So X-Duke, if you want to play Duke Nukem on the original Xbox, that might be quite fun, actually. I might have to check that out, along with Descent and all just so many cool things on here. Open Lara, Tomb Raider port, of course, big game on the PC and the original PlayStation, and mods for retail games and new themes and various other bits and bobs. But what is of interest to us at the moment are the emulators. Now, when it comes to emulating stuff, I tend to play all the old 8-bit and 16-bit era stuff on my Mr. Multi-System. I think the Mr. is an absolutely fantastic platform for that, and I can highly recommend it. And because of that, I wouldn't bother replicating all of that setup on here, because ultimately the Mr. is more convenient and works better and more modern and stuff like that. But there isn't, as yet, an N64 core for that. There is one in development, so I gather, and hopefully that will come along quite nicely. But for now, we can emulate N64 games on the OG Xbox using Surreal64, which you can actually install through the XBMC4Gamers download interface thing here. Of course, I've already installed that, so I won't bother. I won't show you how that works. Ultimately, it's just a case of pressing the button, and then you can FTP ROMs across to it. So I don't think I need to do a tutorial on how to do that, because it's very, very easy. And then, once that's installed, it will appear in the emulator section on here. So let's fire it up and check it out. So this is the Surreal64 launcher, so to speak. And the reason I say launcher rather than sort of emulator, although I don't know quite how you'd class it. If this was a main channel video, I'd have put more work into kind of researching this stuff. But essentially it's a launcher. So you go in and you pick the game that you want to play, and it asks you which emulator you'd like to use. And it seems it has some defaults that are set up for various different games. So GoldenEye, for example, yes, I will. Let's have a look at GoldenEye. So I found that PJ64, which is Project 64, actually has some issues with GoldenEye. Graphically, there's some really weird stuff going on. So I actually played it with Ultra HLE, which was another emulator that I'd heard of. I think it's an older one that's not under active development. I'm sure someone will correct me in the comments. So, absolutely banging soundtrack. One of the best bits of this game. And as you can see, the 3D models actually look pretty cool, upscaled using the Xbox. So let's go through and start a mission. Now, the cool thing about this is that it has mappings built in for various different games that map the N64 controller to the original Xbox controller. And they actually work really, really well in GoldenEye. But with one caveat, which is the menu screen here. And basically it's inverted. Now, obviously, there's a whole debate about whether, you know, first-person shooters should be inverted like flight simulators or not. But ultimately, I don't think they should be inverted on the menus. I think up should be up and down should be down. So that's a bit weird. But anyway, it just takes a second to get used to, and then you can just go in and you can start the game as normal. So let's do this. And I discovered a really interesting bug on this first level, which I really want to show you. As you can see, there's some weird texture stuff going on, but ultimately that doesn't affect the gameplay. And here we go, inside the head of Mr. Bond himself. So, yeah, this is... I like how you can shoot a guy, you know, sort of 10 metres away from these other guys and they don't even notice. I suppose that is the silenced pistol, though, isn't it, that you start with? Where did that other guy go? Go up the stairs? Go in the door? Oh, there he is. And as you can see, it runs great, it looks great, it's a really great way to play the game. A bit pointless because I know there are modern source ports of this, and I believe there was an official re-release on the Switch, and was that also on the Xbox? I can't remember. But yeah, if you want to play an emulated version of the original N64 GoldenEye, you can do that on the OG Xbox. And as you can see, it works great. One thing I will point out is that although the HDMI mod that I've got in here, which is the Make Megahertz one, although that supports 720p upscaling, it doesn't seem to work in GoldenEye. So I'm actually capturing this at 480p, and I've stretched it in the edit, so to speak. But doesn't really make much difference at all as far as the display is concerned. It still looks amazing. A couple of very minor issues with textures and things, and there's also a very interesting bug which I'm going to show you in a second, which actually made me laugh. But let's go through and clear out these dudes first. Of course, got breakable glass, which was very impressive back in '96 or whenever it was for a console game. And we'll go through these barrels here. I know on one of the emulators I tried, the texture of these barrels, like the geometry, was completely screwed up, and they were like a really wacky shape. Got some graffiti on there. So we'll just shoot these dudes in here. Shoot this dude. Now, here's the bug that I mentioned a minute ago. So this truck is supposed to stop at this gate. And it doesn't. It stops halfway through the gate, and I presume that's because of the upscaling and the higher resolution and stuff, and there's like distances that hard-coded in the code, or who knows. But yeah, there's a truck stuck in the gate, so you have to come through and you have to press the button, and the gate starts to open, and then it gets stuck because the collision detection still works, and it gets stuck. I think it's the cab, or obviously part of the truck's solid, ends up blocking that. So what we have to do is come through. So that closes. And does the truck move? No, it does not. So you can actually open and close these gates a few times, and it will actually free the truck. Be free! Oh, there we go. There we go. But you have to, yeah. You have to open and close the gates a few times to make that happen. And of course, oh, there we go, and the truck's driven through the gate and it gets stuck. And the gate is also stuck, and the gap isn't big enough for me to fit through. But what I can do is, I think, from what I remember, I think you just kind of have to jiggle this a few times just to free it up. Hello? Oh. Oh, there we go. A very skinny Bond. But yeah, I've only played the first couple of levels, but that was kind of the funniest bug that I found with this particular emulator. That guy's just triggered the alarm, so I failed that mission. But yes, weird bug aside, it's actually surprisingly playable. And a lot of fun, particularly with the controls. As I said, they've been mapped to the Halo style controls. So we've got the left thumbstick for movement, and you've got the right thumbstick for looking. Fire is on the triggers, as expected, and yeah, you've got A and B mapped to A and X. So they're in the same physical positions as they are on the N64. So what I'm going to do is I want to show you... Oh, can't help shooting these dudes, even though I know I'm going to quit in a second. But yeah, impressive stuff. I mean, you know, he says as the wall starts to vanish. Huh. It's obviously an optimization thing in the original game. Looks great, plays great. So we just click the right thumbstick, and that takes us back to an on-screen menu. And you can actually go through, and there's there's video settings and controller settings and all that kind of stuff that you can change. But I was quite happy with the defaults, so we'll go with those. And yeah, let's quit back to the ROM list. So we'll go with another first-person shooter and another game that I showed in my video about the N64. And that is, of course, Doom 64. And again, this is another game that's had, modern remasters and remakes and things. And there's not really much point in playing this on the OG Xbox other than the novelty value. But it's here, it's on my desk, it works, it's convenient. And so we'll just skip this intro. We've all seen this intro. Go to new game. I don't want to use the memory pack. And obviously we'll go to I Own Doom. Difficulty. And the interesting thing about this is that they haven't mapped the movement to the thumbstick as per GoldenEye, so the movement's actually on the D-pad as per the original game. Other than that, look around and fire with the trigger and everything else. But surprisingly, although it takes a little bit of getting used to, it's actually, the D-pad on the OG Xbox controller, on the controller S that I've got here, is really, really nice. You don't have to press it particularly hard. It's not clicky or anything like that. And for this particular use case, it works perfectly fine. So I haven't bothered remapping the controls. Again, I probably won't use this to actually play the game because I can play the the modern source ports on the PC. But interesting to see just how well it works. Oh yeah, the button mappings are interesting as well because Doom uses the yellow buttons on the N64 controller, which of course there's no kind of direct analog to on the Xbox controller, so they kind of had to approximate some of the button mappings, but it works. Press that again, and again within seconds you get used to it, and it works. It's great. It looks great, plays great, really, really cool. Oh, that's a conveyor belt, isn't it? And then we go through, and we press this button. And let's go back round. And get the chainsaw. And if you haven't played the N64 port of Doom, I say port of Doom, obviously it's not, it's a completely different game. If you haven't played Doom 64, it's a unique experience. It's well worth checking out, and I'm glad it's kind of starting to be recognised for what it is, which is a unique entry in the franchise. I like that they didn't go with the music as well. Obviously, in the Atari Jaguar version, there's no music at all, quite famously, although I believe there is a homebrew version that is fixing that. But, yeah, got this kind of creepy, atmospheric soundtrack, and that's really cool. So, well worth checking out for that. So let's check out F-Zero X purely because it's one of those games that doesn't have a modern PC source port. And let's go with PJ64, with Project 64 this time, just because that came up as the recommended default. Yeah, like I said, the default isn't necessarily the best option for some reason, but I really love this game. I love the soundtrack and I love the artwork, and it's just a really cool game. Of course, The menus and things are predominantly sprite based, so they don't get upscaled like the 3D stuff would, but we can still go through and I'm going to go for novice because I'm a noob. Go for the Jack Cup 860. There we go. And yeah, we've got all the cool little 3D models of all the different ships here. So let's go for the Red Gazelle. Mighty Gazelle, very cool, that will do. Okay. And as you can see, there's some weird stuff going on in the overscan area at the edge of the screen in the menus, but fine in the game itself. And off we go. And yeah, I mean, it looks great. It's fast. The analog stick, I know I'm not playing it very well here because I'm trying to talk at the same time, but yeah, the analog stick is, the sensitivity is just about right. And it's fast and it's smooth and yeah, really, really cool way to play this game. It's another one that doesn't seem to upscale to 720p. I think you can force that in the HDMI mods settings. The Xbox HD Plus. It's a very cool little racing game. It reminds me, so when I was a kid, I used to be obsessed with a game called High Octane, which was made by Bullfrog. And it used the Magic Carpet engine that I've more recently discovered. And I think it was just this silly little thing that they'd kind of cobbled together and then decided to flog as a game. But yeah, very similar concept to that. But of course, with that Nintendo polish. Talk amongst yourselves. Seventh in novice mode. It will do, I guess. I'll take that. Why not? I've not played it for a while. So, yeah, should we check out one more game? Let's do one more game that I covered in that video. Just see how that looks. Let's do Pilotwings 64. This is recommending that we use the 1964 emulator, which I don't think I've tried yet. Let's try it. I seem to remember there was one where the graphics were really badly screwed up, even though it was default. I mean, how cool does that look? You know, all upscaled and super fancy. Again, some weird stuff going on in the overscan area around the outside of the screen. Maybe that's a setting that can be changed in the video settings, but I'm just going with the defaults here, just to make life a bit easier. And we've got this bizarre mixture of kind of 3D rendered stuff and lower resolution sprites, as always. Ooh. Okay, a bit of slowdown and a bit of a weird audio issue there, but we shall persevere. And let's go for Captain America, the one that we used in the in that last video. So it's hang glider time. Yep, fly through the rings. Ah. Now this is interesting because I was playing this earlier using the Ultra HLE emulator, and it wasn't as smooth as this, but the audio was okay. It didn't have this weird rumbling noise. Can you hear that? Yeah, let's try a different emulator. That's the cool thing about this particular setup with Surreal64. If it doesn't work quite properly, we can go in and say, so it was Ultra HLE. Okay, so that's the one that it didn't like. So I must confess I'm not entirely up on what all these different variants are, but We'll go for Project 64 because I've had some good luck with that in the past. Sounds better this time. That's a good start. So, Holiday Island. A little bit of the old farty audio, but yeah, so this is a bit more stuttery. But we shall persevere. I mean, those 3D models, obviously the resolution hasn't, well, the resolution has increased. Obviously the poly count hasn't increased. They're still their charming basic 90s models that they've always been. But yeah, a little bit stuttering in this one. Controls really nice with the analog stick. That works great. Still quite playable. I'm sure if I fiddled with the settings and the various different options, I could probably find some optimal defaults. And now we can land. Landing's never been my strong point. We'll give it a go. Are we in the... Oh, we're in... Oh, just about in the circle. Landing accomplished. There we go. Very cool. Check photo. Check which photo? I don't know. They don't work, do they? That's interesting. I guess we won't look at those. So yeah, interesting little game. Of course, there are much better emulators available for the PC, and pretty much all of these games have now been released on the Switch. If you have the Nintendo Online service, you know, that's very cool. A lot of fun to play with. You know, I've been playing Wave Race and a couple of the other ones on there. But just wanted to sort of try all this setup really for a video, and I want to start doing some streaming again. I used to do quite a bit of streaming on my channel, old PC games and that kind of thing. And I want to sort of work out how to get the camera and the video input all hooked up together and working, and get the scenes set up in OBS and all that. So, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed checking out some emulated N64 games on the original Xbox with me. Just a bit of a fun, silly little video to kind of try and clear the creative block that I've been suffering with just lately. The N64 itself, again, I will mention the purpose of this video isn't to try and pimp this out, but that is for sale for, you know, that finishes on Sunday. I think it's the 31st of July, or whenever it is, last Sunday in July. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for your support. And yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe and all of that kind of stuff. I'll see you later.